What do you do if you have the J1 disease, otherwise known as the 2-year home residency requirement? You came to the United States on a J1 visa, you had every intention of going home, but life changed. Whether you're a postdoc, teacher, or a physician, there are options to be able to stay in the United States, one of them being the exceptional hardship waiver. In this video, you're going to want to watch it until the end because I'm going to talk about the latest processing times. We're going to talk about how we got the case approved and more. Hi, my name is Ranchod. I'm an immigration lawyer. I've been practicing for over 23 years. Today, we're going to be talking about J1 waivers and how we got this case approved for an applicant who's from Egypt. So before we deep dive into the hardships that we discussed and how we demonstrated those hardships, we're going to talk about the processing times. One of the biggest mistakes that I see is people waiting too long to start their J1 waiver case, which leaves them falling out of status or having to go home while they wait for their J1 waiver. So let's look at these processing times now. We filed the case with USCIS and Department of State on January 25th, 2023. The Department of State processed the case on February 12th, 2023. Department of State processed the I-613 on August 20th, 2024, and Department of State issued a favorable recommendation on October 1st, 2024. USCIS finally approved the case on October 9th, 2024. If we look at it closely, it took about a year and 9 months, year and 8 months approximately. One important thing to note is that our client who's from Egypt also had government funding. This raises the bar on the level of difficulty to get the case approved, but we were still able to get the case approved. In order to qualify for an exceptional hardship waiver, you have to demonstrate that you have a qualifying relative. In this case, the qualifying relative was a U.S. citizen daughter. So you can have a U.S. citizen child, lawful permanent resident child, or a U.S. citizen spouse or lawful permanent resident spouse. Here, the applicant who's from Egypt was a highly skilled professional, but would have faced exceptional hardship, which would have been funneled down to the daughter if he had to go back to Egypt. Now, it's important to note that when we built this case, when we prepared the legal narrative through the legal brief, we were able to do that both through relocation and separation. You have to prove both arguments, otherwise your case will be denied. So you have to demonstrate that if the U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident qualifying relative went to the home country, there would be exceptional hardship, or if there was separation between the applicant and the U.S. citizen, there would be exceptional hardship. In this case, we meticulously gathered medical documentation proving that during their previous stay in Egypt, their U.S. citizen daughter suffered from chronic respiratory issues, including repeated bouts of bronchopneumonia. These records indicated the child's need for specialized care. Now, it's important to note that we demonstrated the medical issue with documentation. So you can't just merely state that there is some kind of health issue. You have to back it up with documentation. In the narrative and the evidence provided, we were able to demonstrate that the risk of returning to an environment where the child's health had already deteriorated was undeniable. Now, we went beyond just the medical concerns as well. We always like to provide as many hardships as we can in demonstrating exceptional hardships because it's a totality of the circumstances. It's not just one issue. We also compiled extensive evidence detailing the family's financial struggles in Egypt. The applicant and their spouse simply would not be able to sustain even the most basic necessities, including food and education for their children. Our submission included proof of the limited earning potential in Egypt, current economic conditions, and a cost of living analysis showing that their income abroad would fall far below what was necessary to support their family. Many clients that we work with are from countries where inflation is rampant. We're complaining about inflation in the United States. Well, inflation here is nothing in comparison to countries such as Egypt or Pakistan, where it's running rampant, make it very difficult to live. A particularly sensitive and urgent aspect of this case was the risk of female genital mutilation. The applicant had legitimate, well-founded fears that their U.S. citizen daughter would be subject to FGM by an extended family members in Egypt, despite legal prohibitions against the practice. As part of our submission, we provided country condition reports and expert opinions confirming the high prevalence of FGM and the difficulty of preventing it in such an environment. We're very happy that this case was approved. We're very grateful that the client trusted us. This is another success story for an Egypt applicant, another success story for a J1 holder that has government funding. I invite you to take a look at our other success stories that involve government funding. And I want to thank you for taking the time for watching this video. By watching this video, you're bettering yourself. By bettering yourself, you're bettering your family. And by bettering your family, you're bettering the world. Bye for now.